Welcome back. Last week with Nev Howard we looked at rigging the bait and getting ready to troll. This week we're going to go trolling with Neville and have a look at some of the finer points of setting baits up. Neville, one question I've always wondered about, how do you know what speed to troll at?
Well, you don't. You choose a speed, you troll at that speed for a while. If you get no strikes, then you vary it. Mostly for mackerel, when you're pulling, say, a tailor, pilchards, etc., you'd be pulling at about 3 knots.
3 knots?
Yeah.
So it's what would be the speed range? 3 to 6?
Oh yes, when you're using lures you can get right up to about 10 knots.
Can you?
Oh yes, yeah.
And the fish have no trouble catching the lure?
No.
The other question is, you've got 4 rods out there.
Yes.
Those baits must look like a small school to the fish below.
Yeah, I guess you're right. They are staggered quite well apart because remember, if you've got a bit of a wind on, the wind tends to blow your lines together and you get tangles and all this sort of thing. There's nothing worse than getting a tangle when you got especially if you get a good fish on.
Yeah, that's right.
You'll blow him every time.
Yeah.
What we do, we put, say, the first 2 lines out at about 50, 75 yards.
Right.
I'll put one with a heavier lead on than the other, so one will be working deeper than the other.
Right.
Then I do exactly the same thing to the 2 lines in closer, which one, as you can see, that first line there is about 20 paces off the boat.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be 20, 15 paces off the boat.
Yeah.
And the other one's a little bit further and weighted differently.
Right.
Now that means the lines will keep swinging. When I take a sharp turn, they'll swing underneath it.
Right. So you're rigging your lines and your baits at varying distances and varying depths.
Depths, yeah.
Not only to avoid tangles,
yeah,
but also to give a variation of presentation to the fish.
That's right. But then your speed of the boat varied, then gives you extra depth,
right,
in the water, because if you're slowing up, your baits will tend to go down.
Okay, fine.
Bring it up and up they come.
Now the other way in which you vary is to vary the distance from the boat as well.
Yes.
So all the time you're presenting the fish with a different lure, if you like.
Yes. Sometimes you find that they'll hit, especially spots. I try to keep away from these. They're a smaller mackerel than the Spanish mackerel. I try to keep away from them. That's why you see me use such big baits.
Right.
Because they won't tend to hit it. But if they do, it's usually in very close to the boat.
Right.
Whereas the Spanish mackerel, a little bit further back.
Right, so they're a bit more timid, you might say.
Yes, I should. Yeah, all right, I'll go along with that.
All
They're
right.
mad when they start biting, though.
Yeah, right, yeah. Just one other question, which isn't directly relevant. What speeds do game boats troll for marlin and sailfish at?
Well, they vary them too. If they're pulling baits, they pull anything from about 5 up to 10.
Right, about the same as this?
Yes, yeah. If they're pulling lures, they pull them over the same range.
Right.
Usually, it's a good thought that if you're pulling lures or anything like that, if you get too fast, you use an awful lot of petrol because you're on that planing stage where the boat wants to plane.
Yeah.
And you use an awful lot of petrol.
Right.
If you keep your speed down to about 5 knots,
displacement,
you won't get quite as many strikes and your hookups will drop a little bit.
Right.
But you will certainly use less fuel.
You can stay out longer, in other words.
Oh yes, my word, especially when you're in small boats.
Yeah, right. Well, the action's on after around about an hour of trolling. We've got a hit on one rod. Looks to be a reasonable sized fish.
Now I'm looking for it again, Chris. I'll have to move
You're
over
looking for
there.
the gaff again?
Yeah, good on you, just behind there. See?
That one?
Slow her down a bit, Joy. Ease her back.
So we've got the gaff ready. You can see from the bend in the rod how big that fish is. And I guess what you're watching is what makes mackerel fishing such a marvellous attraction to fishermen. It's the fact that they're big fish, they're vigorous, energetic, they're excellent fighters, so they give superb sport for a relatively low outlay and relatively easy logistics as far as the boat, etc. is concerned.
Pity that water wasn't clear. Whoa!
Boy, that was a big run. Gee whiz.
It doesn't seem like it's a mackerel though.
No,
That's too quick, look at that.
you might have yourself a little marlin, Neville.
Now, what the devil it is?
Haven't seen colour yet.
No? Oh, he's too quick for a mackerel.
He's very vigorous too. I mean, he's...
Oh. I tell you what, once I get him in close there, I'm going to have a problem with those lines. The reason I keep them running like that, Chris, is that always a chance of another fish getting on them while they're in the water.
Yeah. Boy, Neville.
Oh, he's coming back again. He's shaking his head now.
Still no colour.
Oh, done him.
You did him.
I did him, just there.
Well, as you can see, as with any form of fishing, there's a lot more to it than meets the eye, and Neville Howard is certainly the man to tell us all of the techniques and all of the finer points of this type of fishing. Now, we'll probably be here for a while. Like, as with any form of fishing, it's long periods of boredom and inactivity interspersed with short periods of great action. So we'll be back next week with a continuation of fishing for mackerel. See you then.